So list has specific functions tied to it called methods. These are list methods, and these are all of the list methods. There's actually one more. I think, yeah, there's one more. It's called reverse. And if you look at the names of them, most of them are pretty self-explanatory. You have, if you've never programmed before, you might not know what append is, but like you kind of use, you might have seen the word in real life. Append, you like add on to something, right? You append maybe like a bibliography to your paper or something. Extend might be a little weird. Index, these are insert, self-explanatory. Remove, self-explanatory. Sort, self-explanatory, right? Quite like these are really basic stuff. So why don't we go over a couple of them? And in fact, we will. Why don't we'll start with append, and then as we move down, we'll eventually get to remove, and then we'll do that one. Find the second greatest integer inside of a list. Kind of function. We can create a function for that actually using other functions and methods. And that will find the second greatest integer. So in programming, you're gonna get a bunch of these like silly little problems to solve, but it's kind of like it's fun, as in it's kind of like a game. You're just trying to figure out the best way, the easiest way to solve it, the most efficient, least code, whatever, right? That's what programming is. It's just solving little problems here and there. So why don't we begin with append? So we did max and min. Oh, and by the way, these are Python built-in functions. They are not specific to lists. Although we've only used them on lists, you can use these on other things. These are specific to lists. Okay, so they are list methods. These specifically are just Python built-in functions. So there's like a little bit of a difference in wording functions in Python. I mean functions and methods. It's gonna get less confusing once we get into object-oriented programming. But yeah, and if you guys have any Java experience, everything is just a method, right? All right, cool. Why don't we begin with so does anyone so here we go. When you use in method, you have the object that you're going to be calling it on, and then you do a dot, and then you call the method, which in this case is append, right? That's the first one we want to use. So you do append, just like any other function, just like max and min before. We call the function with the parentheses. However, we call this time on an object. Instead of perhaps putting the list inside as a parameter, we call it on an object because we want to append something to it, right? What we're going to append to the list is what we're going to put in here. For instance, we want to append the number, like, I don't know, we could say 99, right? Now, if you run this code, list is going to have another element in it, 99, obviously, because that's what we told it to do. If you want to check, you can print it out. And there you go, 99. So if you kind of see the difference here, we're not doing list equals because that's not necessary. We're calling it on the list. So, I mean, this would work too. It just would be pretty useless because, yeah, actually, yeah, this is not this is kind of breaking it because it's trying to assign it. Yeah, so don't do it this way. It's gonna break it. It's trying to assign like list, but this doesn't know what list is because they're the same variable name. But don't do it like that. All right. When you have a list, you'd want to append something. You just do list.append. Real simple. All right. Now the question arises: what happens if you want to append another list to this one? And you can do that. You can do it quite easily. You could just do list2. But does anyone know what the problem would be? Like, can you predict the problem that would happen in this case? And as a hint, there's another function called extend, specifically for what we're trying to do. But does anyone like? I want one singular list with all the elements in list 2 and list just regular list. So what's the problem of like just appending a list to a list? Yeah, essentially it's one list. However, there's gonna be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 12, and then there's gonna be another list in there, which is not exactly what we want. It might be what you want, but if you take a look here, you have this list and it's just added into the original list, and that's not exactly what we want. We want to add the elements in the lists together. So what you do is you use another method. It's just called extend. And if you guys ever don't know like what the specific method is called, you just Google it. This is just Python data structures, and then you get extend, append, insert, remove, pop, clear. So there you go. That's how you would find stuff. Really simple. All right, excellent. Okay, so we're gonna run this again, and now we get what we wanted: one list with the elements in the two lists put together. So that could be useful in the future if you're making, say, like a deck of cards, and you want it, which we're probably gonna do as a example of what a class is and like how objects work. Say you want to add two decks together. In like a lot of games, say blackjack, there's multiple decks, right? There's like 8 deck games, 2 deck games, 4 deck games. You want to add these decks together. You can't just append one deck to the other, because it's going to be like an object inside of an object, and it's just not going to work. You want one deck with all the cards in it. So that's a kind of a, if you want to think of a practical example of extend. Alright, so we did extend, we did append. Clear, self-explanatory. List.clear, and list is cleared. And if you try to do anything after this, you're not going to get anything. The list has nothing in it. Copy, that returns a copy. So if you want to create a copy and then have two lists that are the same, and then make like maybe some difference to one list and then compare the results, that's how you could do copy. Count. Okay, count's kind of count's pretty self-explanatory too. Say you want to have how many times 6 appears in this list. So you just do count 6, and then wait, yeah, sorry. Here we go. Okay, so if you read what I wrote down here, yeah. So these two, just append and extend, just add on to the list you currently have. Copy and count, they return an they return an object, right? Kind of like max and min, they return an object. So you still call it on a list because it's a method, but they return something, and then you can print out what they return. Which makes sense, because you're not going to print out the list again, and then, I mean, the list is not going to become like a count, right? You don't want your list, you don't want to, like, say you want to count how many 6s in here, and then you turn the list, the entire list, into that, like, number, just number 2, because that's how many 6s there are. You don't want that, because you want to keep your list. So that's what, it returns something, and then you can print that out. You can assign it to a variable, print it out, and you get 2, because there are 2 6s in there.